I did it. I pressed record.
All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Trying to Be Better with Joel and Steve podcast.
Yeah.
I just horked back a couple of Reese's peanut butter eggs.
Oh,
and I see a pug. Oh, my God. I see a pug in the screen, and I must get a screenshot. Booyah.
Hold on. There we go.
I'll get a better one. I got to get a better one.
Okay.
This is going to
smile for the camera.
That'll work. Yeah, welcome to the podcast, everybody. Glad everybody's here. Yeah, I'm sugared up and rested.
Yeah, the other night I ate an entire, with the exception of one bite, I ate an entire Reese's peanut butter heart.
Oh,
it was
great. That's what Kirsten got me. Well, she got me some heart. No, she got me some Reese's. Okay, so I'm a big Reese's fan. So they have Reese's Hearts, but they had Reese's Pieces, mini Reese's Pieces, shoved into them.
No,
so they're peanut butter pockets with chocolate around them, with extra candy with peanut butter in it.
Yeah, I don't want the candy shell. I just want the peanut butter and the chocolate.
But it gives it a little more crunch. I'm telling you,
I want the creamy smoothness. I mean, I get it. See, I don't even do crunch. Like, I don't do chunky peanut butter.
I don't either, really. But so Kirsten got me those, and they were out of hearts. So she jumped the shark for Easter and got me a bag of eggs for my Valentine's Day. Hope you had a good Valentine's Day, Steve. Did you have a good Valentine's Day?
Yeah, it was nice.
Yeah.
Kind of low key just because of gesturing broadly. It's like
you can't go to a restaurant and can't have a candlelit dinner. You can't.
Well, you can.
I'm not going to do it.
Right. Yeah, I know.
You can. You totally can. We've covered this.
Yeah, I know.
Well, I'm glad everybody joined us and listened in. Do we have any housekeeping to deal with right now?
I would say our Instagram followers have kind of it's gotten a little stagnant. Is that on us? I think
there was a couple weeks where I just, it's hard being an influencer, Steve. I just didn't have the get up and go to. Maybe I'll put more stuff on there. I should ask more questions.
You've teased that we're going to have guests.
We are going to have some guests.
We are going to have. Although that's really exciting.
I got to work on this one guest. He's kind of, in my mind and in your mind, I think so too. He's kind of a local celebrity.
Yes.
And he kind of essentially what I think. Yeah, I think he's going to join us. I'm very excited, and I'm waiting to hear back from him.
I'm a little geeked out about that because you're right. He's very cool and definitely has a thing happening.
Very cool and very interesting and very influential. Mm-hmm. There was a lot of things that came together, and he's, I don't know, in my mind, just a big deal. So hopefully he joins us. We have another big deal. Oh my gosh, your dog is so cute. We have another big deal that he says he's in. It just didn't work this week.
Yeah, that's cool.
So, we'll get him on.
I'm looking forward to that conversation as well.
Yeah, that'll be good. He'll have a lot of cool things to say. We go way back.
Yeah.
And I guess, so follow us on the grams. I'll try to put more content.
Trying to be better podcast.
Trying to be better podcast.
And if you want to correspond with us, Eduardo, thank you for your email as always. Really nice. Hopefully Joel will get you your mug someday.
I'm looking at it right now, Eduardo. It's literally right below me.
Email ttbbpodcast@gmail.com.
Yeah. So
ideas, comments, criticisms, whatever. If you want to tell us you think we're full of shit, that's fine too.
Really great exchange with your dog is looking at you, and I can't wait to put this photo out there in the world. That meme, find somebody who looks at you the way XYZ looks at you. Right. I'm gonna find somebody that looks at you the way Steve's dog looks.
But see, the thing is, Joel, with her, it looks like love, but really what it is why aren't you walking me right now? Why aren't you walking me right now? Why?
She's literally pawing at you.
Yeah.
She's pawing at you.
It's because she wants me to scratch her ears and take her for a walk.
Walk me and take care of me. Give me attention.
It's
like
attention.
Me with Kirsten. It's just
that's really what it is. Like, you're here now and I'm here. Why are you not scratching my ears and or taking me for a walk? And oh, by the way, where's my treat? That's what's
Where's my
happening.
treat?
It's not about love of me. It's about what can I do for her.
What is it with you guys? You guys have a running thing with pugs. This
This is
is
our pug
what's the
number
deal?
two. Yes.
Okay, hold on. I'm so glad I took a screenshot because you have a pug looking at you and you're wearing a t-shirt that says pugs not drugs.
Yes, that's
This is a
correct.
problem.
No, it's
What's the
not.
deal
It's
with pugs?
beautiful. I'll send you my picture of me wearing. It's a very meta picture because it's me wearing slippers with pug faces on them, and then Sunny in the background looking at me. It's so
Oh
funny.
my God.
It's beautiful.
You got an obsession with pugs.
I got to tell you,
They're
I kind of like them.
Yeah, they're pretty cute.
It's pretty cute.
Yeah.
Yeah. I realized that I had a problem when I was out at a convention deal, and I was had some time to kill. So I was
Is this a
literally
pug
sitting.
convention, Steve?
No, it was not a
Is it a
pug
pug
convention,
convention?
but
Oh,
I was
okay.
sitting in my hotel
You
room.
gone?
I was sitting in my hotel room watching videos of pugs snoring. And the guy that I went out there with, he had gone out and he came back. He's like, "What are you doing?" "I'm watching videos of pugs snoring." And as soon as I heard that coming out of my mouth, I'm like, "Okay, all right, I need to get a
Okay.
life."
I heard it. It's a problem.
It's a
I'm
problem.
watching pug videos in a hotel
But
room.
seriously, before you judge, get on YouTube and just search for
I'm not
snoring pugs. It's hilarious.
all right.
It's funny.
Snoring pug videos, everybody. You heard it here.
So now that nobody's listening,
Yep, everybody's gone.
they're
And the two
gone.
people that are left, what are we talking about, Steve? What you have a thing.
The idea came up. This is courtesy of my sister, and she asked me to not use
Hi,
this
Libby.
phrase, but she wanted she wanted me to double click on the topic of, or the idea around, how two middle-aged quasi-Christian white dudes in Nebraska got involved in Buddhist meditation.
Well, you sent me that text, and I was like, Kirsten was like, did the guest respond? I'm like, no, but I think we're talking about this, and I'm like, I feel like we've talked. She's like, no, you haven't really talked about the pathway to it. You've talked that you guys meditate and you kind of throw some, phrases around, and you've talked about it tangentially, and you've mentioned it a lot, but you've not really shared a path to it, which I think is, I don't know. I think it's pretty interesting. So yeah, no, I love the
I mean,
double click.
It's kind of like, I was kind of listening to our last podcast, just because I listened to them. So are we full of shit? And I don't remember what I had a moment where I was like, if I didn't know you and kind of your struggles and how you've gone from point A to point B, like I could see how somebody from the outside would think, who the fuck do these guys think they are?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And so I really had that moment of like, are we full of shit? And then no, I don't think so. Right? Like, are we believing our own bullshit?
Like when it comes to Buddhist meditation, or just things in general,
or trying to be better, like what, but then, like, we get emails from Eduardo and we talk to people, and people, say, like, people that I know will say, like, I listened, I thought it was really great,
Yeah.
And so I like, that external validation, I guess, is nice, but also, like, I have, I think, said this before on the podcast, but the thing of, like, I've known you for a long time. I've watched you go through your struggles, and I have seen a very definite change in you around the practice of meditation. Like, I've seen it work in your life in very practical, tangible ways.
Yeah.
And that's real. I mean, some of it could be, it's like, oh, we're using different phraseology. You watch your phraseology. Sorry, I just went straight to, I think, The Music Man. Sorry, weird reference. I don't know. No. I'm tired.
No, you can quote musicals if you need to.
Yeah,
that's totally.
But like, the way, there's some expressions, and of course I can't think of one right now, but that are very related to meditation. Sorry, lost my
Yeah.
train of thought. That's bad because I'm
No,
on a podcast right now. But my point
no,
is that like that, um, like I think when you get introduced to, well, I mean, I would, I would, I would say that my introduction to meditation, as crude as it may have been, would be like sitting and listening to the Grateful Dead in 1990.
yeah.
Just like literally just sitting and listening to something
Yeah.
and like paying attention to a single point, which
Yeah.
may have been that ripping guitar
Yeah.
solo or whatever, or that spacey ass Dark Star jam from whenever,
Yeah.
and just quietly listening to something that wasn't my own head,
Yeah.
and that's a
Yeah. Or
very,
having an anchor or a focal point or something that
yeah,
you could kind of sit with that distracted you from your own thought stream,
100%.
That's,
Yes.
I mean, that's I have a similar experience with that. Well, not really. I mean, yeah. So no, I'm totally down to talk about that, especially because in that text from Libby, and thank you for that. She mentioned quasi Christian white dudes from the Midwest getting into Buddhist meditation, and that that's hit the nail on the head. I mean, I was raised in the Christian tradition. I was raised with, a Missouri Synod Lutheran elementary school. I had, when my parents got divorced and my mom got remarried, my stepdad was a United Methodist pastor. My mom became a licensed local United Methodist pastor. And then when I got into my teenage years, I was kind of totally in deep into the Methodist church and doing youth stuff. I worked for a Methodist church. I worked as a youth leader for a Methodist church.
We never did talk about Rainbow Camp.
Okay. All right. So Rainbow Camp. We didn't talk about Rainbow Camp. And now it's time to talk about Rainbow Camp.
We're doing it. Rainbow Camp it is.
Well, Rainbow Camp, and it was a camp at this United Methodist Church camp, Camp Kamika. And there's going to be, well, I know Eduardo knows about Camp Kamika, but back in the 90s, there was a summer camp there for high school age kids. And it was called Rainbow Camp. And it was pretty out there. And I don't know how long of the history it was before I started going to it, but that was a high school camp where like we did guided meditations and we did have like nightly talent shows and we wrote poetry and it was very spiritually explorative and it was very progressive. It wasn't like, it wasn't evangelical free church shit. It was pretty out there. It was pretty interesting and progressive. And I can recall one iteration of that, and it wasn't Rainbow Camp. It was a Christmas time thing we did where I did a guided meditation. I remember my conservative parental unit, one of my conservative parental units at the time, being very skeptical of guided meditation, and it was like, that's how the devil gets in or whatever. And I was like, no, I kind of reject. Like I kind of at that time I did it. I was like, no, that's dumb. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. And that was, and thank goodness for those folks in that progressive place.
Everybody knows that heavy metal music is how the devil gets in.
Well, it was also like any sort of weird spirit, not weird, I don't know, progressive spirituality. Like it was frowned upon. Like if you believed in gay rights, you were, there still is a lot of division in that church. And I don't mind putting them under the bus. I give zero fucks because they're tearing themselves in half.
Right.
And any church and any Christian faith right now that's not on the progressive bus is going to die. So that's my opinion. But anyways, Rainbow Camp was this wild place, but like, I would also like bring cigarettes to camp and would like sneak out of the cabin and go smoke cigarettes. And then like the counselors would come down and be like, "Oh, you're smoking?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm smoking a cigarette." And they're like, "Okay, well, I'm going to sit with you and hang out, while you're here,
cool.
And like talk to you." Like they didn't call my parents and kick me out. They're just like,
right.
"Yeah, we'll just hang out. I just want to make sure you're safe. You don't burn the place down. How are you?" And then I was like, "Oh, like the cigarette in my hand was enough rebellion. I thought that would keep people at bay and that would be the issue."
Right.
And they were like, "Nah, we don't care about that. How are you?" And then I was like, "Oh, I have to talk." And that was a really, that was a really big deal.
So that sounds like a really positive experience
out there.
That sounds like
it was great. It was totally great.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because when you brought that up when you mentioned that in the first podcast we did, I thought that it was going to be the opposite of that. Really like tight and restrictive and kind of weirdly controlling, and not at all.
It was not at all. It was very out there.
That makes me happy.
Yeah, it was really great. And those folks really taught me that, like, and this is why I have a lot of resentments that I need to work through with, certain traditions of faith. And but I can't argue with that one. That particular experience was really, really good and helped me a lot. So anyway, that's my Christian, and even like, I went to acting school, and I have 2 degrees in theater, and I was living in LA. When I moved back, I was kind of like, well, crap, I was going to do this arts organization thing in Omaha that sort of fell through due to a couple of personalities there. I did still going, but it just wasn't for me. And so I was like, I was kind of lost. I was like, what do I do? And I happened to reach out to, I reached out to the associate pastor at a United Methodist church here in town because of places like Rainbow Camp, because they were so open and progressive. I was like, man, I really want to work with young people. I really want to teach. I really want to, but I reached out to him because I just needed some guidance. And he was like, we need a youth leader. And I'm like, okay. Because I needed a job, so I did that for a while.
My recollection of that is that your first response wasn't, yeah, okay, sure. It was more like, that's not really what I'm looking for. Is that correct?
I mean, I remember sitting down.
Was like, I don't know if that's. I mean, yeah, I need a job, but I don't. And then you kind of thought about it from. I was like, wait a minute, that could be good. Because it's like a good job.
And that's really true. And I remember in the interview,
it wasn't like an acting job or a drama job. It was it was something outside of what you just spent a whole bunch of time and money studying for.
Yes, but it was also a salary with benefits. And they also, I mean, in the interview process, they said, I remember saying to them, like, hey, this is kind of where I'm at on my faith journey. I've been sober for X amount of years. I have a spiritual life, and I do have beliefs in God at the time. But I don't know that I would necessarily call myself Christian. I'm still kind of seeking. And they're like, great. And I said, cool. I'm willing to investigate this stuff. And obviously I will be on brand somewhat,
sure,
but I'm not going to pretend to be somebody on fire for Jesus. And they're like, fine. And they're like, these young people need somebody to discover things with, and like be curious about God and figure out how that spiritual path works with their life. Like, we think that you're a creative and interesting enough person, and you're not bullshitting us. We'd rather have somebody like that. That's the kind of stuff I witnessed at Rainbow Camp or United Methodist Church camps. And they're like, you'll be great. Let's try it out. And that team of people at that church was so great. Like,
they really were. Like, I got some of those folks. They were fantastic.
I talked to one of the youth from that time. He's now like 22, 23 years old, which is nuts to think about. But he was like, we were talking about the lead pastor at that church at the time. I'm like, that pastor is going to probably go down as one of the best bosses I ever had.
Was that Bevins?
No, that was David Lux.
Oh, right. Thank you.
Yep. So anyway, I mean, yeah, but how I got from there to kind of where I'm at now is a wild story. I mean, it's interesting.
Was that 10 years ago?
Yeah.
That was 10 years ago.
Holy
moly.
Yeah, it was over 10 years ago, because we moved back right around this time in 2010. So yeah, it's about 11 years ago now.
Wow.
But that was
a great time for us as friends, because I worked downtown and you worked downtown, and we'd have lunch and hang out, and
we'd go eat at the the SEC. What was that snack bar
Skymart
place?
I love Skymart.
Skymart, baby.
Shout out to Greg at Skymart.
Skymart, the salad bar.
Sidekick assistant's name was.
Oh my God.
Remember that guy?
That guy, he brought, even with his sarcasm, just like, great. Just sort of, he made brighten everybody's day.
Totally. Yep. That guy was awesome. I wish I could remember his name.
Skymart.
The salad punch cards.
Oh my God.
So many Skymart salads.
So yeah, I mean, that was a good time for you and I because we
Uh-huh.
were, yeah, we were downtown and we could eat lunch
We
all the time and hang out.
we were not doing any Buddhist meditation back then.
No, although I really could have used it.
Yeah, right.
I
Well,
really, I
hindsight.
mean, yeah. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, uh, ah, I could, I think what happened, I'm trying to like put together the dots here because what happened was, I left that job because I got a couple of teaching jobs, enough to kind of make ends meet. And it was like, this is what I really want to do.
Right.
And that was doable. And then, full-time position came together, all of those things.
That was
But I think, I think that
that was a leap of faith time for you because you had like
totally,
the kind of
because
cushy, stable gig, and you're like, but I want to go teach, and I have these two things, and
yeah,
like I remember
well,
you
that,
kind of throwing. You're like, well, I feel like I'm being pulled in this direction, so I'm going to go with it.
yeah. And it was a little hairy because I was adjuncting at two different universities. So I was able to make ends meet, but in the summer there was no money coming in. So it was
Right.
a little hairy around the
Mm-hmm.
house.
Right.
But it was the right thing to do because the church was like, we were all getting ready for me to be sort of the college age pastor at UNL. And I'm like, that title, that thing, I have no desire to go to seminary. I have no calling in the ministry really.
Right.
I'm not that it ain't me, babe. That's kind of what I thought. I'm like, it ain't me. It
Right.
ain't me you're looking for.
Right.
And it should go to somebody that has that desire. I just wasn't me. And I got it was just a perfect match. But at the time, spiritually, I was really feeling, at least in recovery rooms, like, and I've described this to other folks, I felt like I was trying to piece together a God of my very limited understanding through all of the different fragments that I heard in the rooms, and it wasn't working. And even if I did try to do that, it just wasn't there. I had no practice. I had no practical application of any sort of faith, right? And and then,
You really think that's true?
well, I was moving my feet, but I definitely needed to grow spiritually. It was kind of the grow or go thing. Like, yeah, it's
Yeah.
absolutely true. My feet were moving. I could act as if everything was fine, but internally it felt very disjointed, honestly. And I was really kind of like, I don't know that I believe in God. I don't know that I really believe that there is a divine thing out there in the world that has any bearing. And it's funny because Kirsten, as I was mentioning this topic to Kirsten, she was like, well, your brother was a practitioner and a Buddhist. And I remember giving him shit, like,
Mm.
I remember giving him a hard time, and he'll probably laugh when he hears this. But also I was starting to embrace some things like with my mental health and
Mm-hmm.
embracing anxiety and naming it anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
And I was also doing stuff that like didn't make the anxiety any better. The way I was working was really attached to, people, uh, getting praise or validation. And it was just
Yeah.
causing me more and more anxiety. And I was telling my therapist today, who's kind of based in mindfulness based stress reduction. I was telling him that I started practicing meditation and seeking the Dharma as a as a as an aversion to get away from my own anxiety. And
Mm-hmm.
what I found was it was like everything pointed to no, 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 you need to embrace and take care of your anxiety. I wanted it to go away. I wanted to bliss out. I'd done like a float tank, and I had listened to some instrumental music for an hour and tried to like meditate, but I knew I needed something formal. And that's
Mm-hmm.
when I started going to a recovery based Buddhist meeting every week and started practicing, started reading. I bought a copy of a few different books and a few different sutras and started reading that stuff. And I just started practicing every day. It was like, I got to do this every day. And that's kind of been the case for the last couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a really fast story about, I feel like I've been talking for an hour, but yeah, so that's been, that's my, that was a little bit of my path. And I don't know. I think it's cool that you say like you've seen a difference, because sometimes it doesn't feel like it, but I don't know. I mean, it's definitely been something that I wouldn't do without right now. I was telling my therapist today, like, I don't think that, and he's kind of a meditation teacher now too, but like, I wouldn't not do that. It's like I've crossed, like those spikes that you drive over one way, but you can't go the other way.
Yeah.
Like
Mhm.
once that awareness is there, if I tried to reject this right now, I'd tear my tires up. That's kind of how
Sure.
it feels,
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah. Um, so yeah, I mean, that's a little bit about how did you, wait, was it, how did you start doing it? Because it
Well,
sort of
the
was
same
like,
way I've done everything, which is, riding on your coattails. I,
my flowing
ro-
monk robes behind me.
vestments, yes.
Oh God, no! I'm not a
That
monk. I'm not a monk. I'm not a teacher. I'm not a no. Mm-mm.
no, well, yeah, but I mean that's okay. So as far as like when you get into recovery, it's pretty heavy on the whole prayer and meditation thing, right?
Yeah, well, so they say.
So, um, like the prayer part, I kind of had down, right?
Yeah,
I prayed on my knees every night for years. Maybe I should
yeah.
start doing that again. But I mean, that really helped a lot. Like
Hmm.
that, there was concrete proof in my life that the act of physical, what's the word I'm looking for? Supplication, whatever,
Sure.
just like get on your fucking knees and say a prayer,
Hmm.
right? If nothing
Hmm.
else, you do
Hmm.
nothing else to benefit yourself, to
Hmm.
engage in a process of recovery for yourself,
Right.
do that.
Right.
Because if you can't do that or won't do that, then what are you doing here?
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
And that was like the hardest times in my life through external circumstances that I had created for myself, right?
Hmm.
I don't know that without that simple action of getting on my knees and asking a God that I didn't necessarily believe in for help,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
expressing gratitude, I don't know that I would have made it, you
Yeah.
know, and that's real.
Yeah.
And
And I don't.
so,
Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
our friend Jack talks about, asking four walls for help, right?
That's good.
Or
Yeah.
words to that effect.
Yeah.
Um, and that's the thing about the act of prayer is that it doesn't matter whether you believe in capital G God or not.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's something about that act that is powerful. It's
Yeah.
a way of letting go of the reins or whatever, just saying there might not be a God, but I know it ain't me,
Yeah. Yeah.
like that's all that really matters from a
Hmm.
recovery perspective anyway, is that
Yeah.
time to stop playing God, right?
Yeah. And
And
this is where I don't know if we've even really talked about this. So this may be really interesting, but I think around that time I've never really, I tried to like do the supplication or the humbling myself by praying on my knees, and this may be controversial to you or to anybody out there in recovery, but there was a time where that's all they're like, well, that's how you got to pray, do it or don't. Like if you don't do it, you're not really praying. And I always rejected that, and I still reject that. Not that I don't think it's right for anyone else, it's just not right for me.
sure.
And um i I was at a point where, probably through my own actions, sure, but I was unwilling. I was 100% unwilling to pray in the way that I had done before. Something
Mm,
needed to be revolutionized.
mm,
And that's when sitting in meditation became very humble. So there's something like, I was unwilling to, the physical form of putting my kneecaps on the ground, I just didn't do. But sitting on a cushion, upright and dignified, but also close to the ground,
mm-hmm.
and being there,
Well, I think
actually gave me that honest uh humbleness, where it's not that I have this
I was gonna
feeling
say
of
clearly.
I mean, but seriously, I don't do that. I don't pray to God. I don't pray to God. I do not have a being or deity out there in space that is singular and interested in me. I don't
Hmm.
believe that.
I don't know that I necessarily believe that either, but I do believe in some sort of cosmic order.
Hmm.
Like I believe in the Force,
Sure. Yeah. Okay.
right?
Yep.
No matter how Disney-fied it may be now.
Hey, there's more of it. There's, you know what I mean? That's the great thing about Disney. There's more to
Sure.
consume.
Um, but so like I mean like when I would get, I mean, I think it's the same thing. It's just a different physical action,
Yeah, I agree.
right?
I
It's like
agree.
your knees, mat. Uh, do you have a god? No, but I have a mat.
I have a mat. Well, there's something. Here's the thing, dude. There's something real about that because I have a meditation bench that I can sit. I mean, on a cushion, sitting in the lotus position, I can sit there for a good maybe 15 minutes before my legs start to die. And
Yeah.
I have a meditation bench, and I'm literally kneeling.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sitting on it,
Wait
but
a
it's
minute.
also
Hold on.
yeah.
Okay, just
I'm
checking.
kneeling, but
Okay.
I can kneel in that way for a lot longer. So I could kneel for an hour, you know, or more.
Well, that's what
Um,
I love about Sharon Salzberg is she's like, you can sit or you can lay down.
mhm.
You can close your eyes or not.
Or not.
I just like that's so like I love that.
Yeah.
Like, do you?
Yeah. Yeah. And so there's that's funny. I really need to laugh at that because it's like I refused to kneel in prayer, but I will kneel in meditation. Here's the thing.
Good
Who
night.
fucking cares?
Thanks for listening, everybody.
Who cares? I mean, here's the thing. I'm not, yeah, maybe I am praying. You come in and you would see me in that position, and you could say either he's sitting in meditation or he's praying to a God. None of that matters
Right.
because I'm getting to a point where that the act of meditation is a part of the pie,
Mm-hmm.
and it's one of the things that I practice mindfulness so that when I'm out there in the world and a coworker upsets me, I don't flip my lid, or I don't, it's like that I practice that there so that I can apply it out there. And I'm not there asking for the invisible sky daddy to take away my bad things. um Nor am I there, honestly. I'm not there to like, because I think that you and I are talking about similar things in that we get to a point where we took a bunch of actions that caused us a lot of pain and suffering. I
Yes.
mean, that's vague enough, right?
Yes.
And I was trying to ask this God to remove those things, make me feel better,
Yeah.
make me feel better. And I think if there is a God, maybe there is. And that God, she said, I'm going to lead this young person, Joel, to meditation because that's the only way he's going to get it. And I get it.
So here's the
I'm not perfect at it. What I'm saying is that I get that I get out of meditation what I always hoped would happen when I prayed.
okay. So here's I think maybe a difference is that I've never sat in prayer um asking to have like to make me feel better. Like that's
Mm,
never really what it was about.
mm-hmm.
It was more about okay, these are the situations that I'm in.
Yeah.
I am not going to be able to do this without some sort of guidance
Mm,
and strength that I don't
mm-hmm.
have right now.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're out there,
Mm-hmm.
throw me a bone.
And what I would argue in a very simplified way is that what I'm discovering with a Buddhist path is that it's not like, if you're out there, help me out. What I have discovered and what I'm playing around with, and there could be folks further along in their practice that I would love to be, shown or given a different idea or answer. But it's not like, if you're out there, help me out. What I think meditation has taught me is that, um, if you're in there, I need my own strength. And it's not, it really does kind of butt up against some of this idea in recovery, which is complete powerlessness. I'm reading a book right now called One Breath at a Time that sort of is a Buddhist supplement to the 12 steps. And I'm just starting it, so I shouldn't really even talk much about it. But what he talks about in there is a little bit like this idea of powerlessness is totally translatable. But when you're coming at it from a very Judeo-Christian sort of, I need a power out there to fix me. What I have come to learn through studying the Dharma is that we are all born innately with the Buddha nature, different from we're born as sinful beings that need forgiveness.
I have a really, really, really hard time with that second thing.
Yeah, you've mentioned that
because I've held my newborn daughters.
Yeah,
and the thought of some religious institution saying they're broken.
Yeah,
really infuriates me.
Yeah, right.
Because they're not.
No,
they're born perfect.
Yeah, they're pure. They're and physically, the
only way that they're going to be okay is to spend the rest of their life supplicating to, well, us.
Yeah. Well, and also, if you want to get, I am not, again, if we have to do the disclaimer, I have an MFA. I'm not a psychologist, nor am I a Buddhist practitioner or teacher, nor am I any of those, but the idea too, that if you really think about everybody that we've talked to, new folks in the rooms of recovery that talk about their idea of God as well, I can't do this and I can't believe in that and I reject that. And a lot of that I'm finding out is we project that because of our relationship with our parents or authority figures or the police or
100%.
And it's like, it's a lot more to sift through to try to get to, I don't know. And I'm not here saying bagging on anybody's faith, right? Because I think there are amazing folks who are Christian or Muslim.
I know a lot of them, actually. That's where I have to that's where I have to step back and be like, okay, wait a minute.
Yeah. Rainbow Camp.
Yeah. Or just people that I've met at my church that I love and that have their faith that I have a shitload of problems with, but it totally works for them.
Yeah.
So it's like, that's where I really have to check myself.
Yeah.
And that wholesale condemnation of a religion that I have problems with for quite a few pretty legitimate reasons, for whatever reason works for that person.
Right.
And so it's, I have to really check myself on that level.
Yeah.
Because I'll read the news and I'll get just furious. I'm like, that's it. I'm out, you know?
Yeah. Well, human institutions with given enough influence and power
and money
and fear of not being an institution anymore will do a lot of harm, and that's not just a Christian thing.
No, it's universal.
Yeah. There's probably, Buddhist temples that have been very abusive. We've heard horrible things about, really well-respected monks doing, being very abusive, or, so there's systems want to remain systems.
We've also heard really horrible things about really loved and well-respected comedians.
Exactly. Right.
It turned out to be total monsters. Just
yeah. Or really deeply affected and abused human beings that took that out on others in really, really violent, horrible ways. So yeah, no institution is perfect.
I want to double back.
Sure.
And give a shout out, because I would be remiss to not mention your brother.
Yeah.
Colin.
Yeah.
Because of his example.
Yeah.
Colin and I aren't, I've always enjoyed being around him, and I was for a long time, intimidated by him just because of his. It was really kind of interesting when we started hanging out more, to watch his kind of vulnerability.
Yeah.
But to open, because Colin has always had a way of, just speaking.
Yeah.
Getting right into the heart of the matter with a sentence.
Yeah.
Or just one turn of phrase. And I just standing there what are you, some kind of fucking Buddha?
Yeah.
Right? It turns out oh, that's probably where that comes from.
Yeah.
is that
He's probably
practice.
he's probably blushing listening to this right now, but he's always, I mean, he's always been that to me. And you know, uh, yeah, especially watching him after he spent 5 months in Dharamsala, India, you know,
Yeah.
working and having that whole experience and really being a practitioner. I gave him a hard time about that. Here's the other thing too, you know, like he's got, you know, like when I started practicing and kind of finding it in my own way, it was not like it was a lot like when we talked about this in that podcast from 2017, when I started listening to the Grateful Dead, you're like, great, get into it, find your own way.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was kind of worried my brother was gonna be like, no, you're doing it wrong, you know, which is total bullshit. He was
Right.
just like, awesome, here's a book, you should try this. Like
Right.
his excitement about the beginner's mind that I was experiencing, he
Yeah.
was really interested in. It was very supportive, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I had another dude, Josh Collins, who was super
Yep.
influential, and Jeff Picaro was super influential to kind of
Mm-hmm.
show me the way. And
Mm-hmm.
like, not that they're not experts or monks, they're just practitioners, but they, you know, like I remember, and this is a shout out to Josh. And I knew Colin practice, but this was something else when I was really like decided I wanted to do this and was going to a couple of meditation meetings throughout the week. And I sort of flippantly asked him, like, so how often do you meditate? He's like, you know, 10, 15, 20 minutes in the morning and then maybe 10 or 15 minutes at night. And it was like like a newcomer when you tell them you go to 4 meetings a week and they're like,
Right.
what? And or like you've been sober 10 years. You're like, how? Like he was like, yeah, that, you know, once in the morning, once at night. And I was like, well, shit, I could do it too. If this guy can do it,
Yeah.
like he just does it. I'm like,
Uh-huh.
okay, I guess I can do it too. And that was when I made the commitment to like every day, you know? So it's been
Mm-hmm.
like, obviously you need examples, and Colin is definitely one. Josh and Jeff were definitely big influences too. Um,
Hmm.
just that it was possible that people actually did it. It was that Buddhism wasn't something you just, you know, bought the t-shirt for and talked about how cool it was. You actually, like, that these people were actually doing it and like
Yeah.
applying it to their lives
Uh-huh.
was pretty was it was just the nudge I needed, I guess.
I and I talked about this, I think, last week, but just because I'm not, I would say, I mean, I'm still very much I love that concept of beginner's mind
Yeah.
because I think
Yeah.
it's important to maintain that. But anyway, like I'm still, I feel like a muggle, you know, but I'm trying, you know, and
Yeah.
the benefit, like you said something last week, but like the more you sit, the more you see the shit.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Like
So
that's
true.
real. And we talked about like
Yeah.
that, the flower meditation. I mean, just stuff that it has forced me, or maybe not forced is not the right word, but it's opened me up to ways of thinking and being
Mm.
like, even just like my morning routine, which fundamentally hasn't changed in years.
Mm-hmm.
But like when school's in session, our morning routine was like a Swiss watch. A lot of
Yeah.
moving parts. Everything
Yeah.
happens pretty much the same time,
Right.
right? And I can, like, if I
Mm-hmm.
start to feel like we're off or it's not going right, or like if I'm worried about work or something, like I can get, like, it's not a lot of fun, you know. But since I've started
Yeah.
meditating, when I feel that tension kick in, I just breathe.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'll be
Yeah.
cooking breakfast or putting on the dishes or whatever. And instead of
Yeah.
being all balled up about something that may or may not happen in 2 or 3 hours, I just
Mm-hmm.
focus on my breath. Oh, there's my friend. There's the
Mm-hmm.
breath,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
you know, as I'm doing the task, and I don't
Yep.
get
Yeah.
balled up
I
about it.
was I was talking, yeah,
Like what,
I
that's
was
a
talking to a
revolutionary
teacher.
thing.
Yes, it is, because I was talking to a teacher about this, is that, I mean, the beauty of it is what's possible for me is that I can I can go throughout my day and something could potentially come up. And if I am practicing, what I have found is that while sitting, I can observe my thoughts and feelings coming and going. And I realize that just like my body, just like the weather, just like the sun, things come and go, nothing is permanent, and everything within me is transitory and doesn't have any fixed point. I can't pick out any one thing within me that makes me me. And one thing that I'm really, really used to is that my thoughts and my feelings, my memories, my past trauma, my excitement about the bands that I listen to, whatever, I tried to tell myself that that's who I am. And also all the bad shit, and this is quote unquote bad shit, but the things that hook me, right? Anxiety, fear, lust, anger, those things I start to identify with and say, well, that's me. And I chase that all the way down the river. And what meditation has taught me is this idea that I can just observe those and watch them come and go. If something comes up that is unpleasant, I can take care of it. And I can say, oh, I'm anger. I see that you're here. Anxiety, I see that you're here. You're welcome to be here. And anxiety, here's a weighted blanket, and anger, here's a punching bag, and joy, here's the record player, and you can play in the house. You can't destroy it. You get to be here because I know you're not going to be here forever. That is a reparenting of myself, or it's not to say that I'm my own higher power, but that is discovering the innate Buddha nature within me being allowed to take care of its children. It's take care of these things because they come and go. Before this experience, I had to identify with all of those things: my joys, my fears, my anxieties, my anger, my lust, my ego. All of that stuff needed to. That was me. All that stuff that was either comfortable and uncomfortable or neutral. It had to be me because it was coming from me. And thoughts, yeah. So that's what. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole too much longer, but that's what when you talk about that, like I can breathe there, I can observe what's going on, and I can see, and I don't have to identify with it. And I think when I think back to a few years ago, I mean, my whole life, not just a few years ago, having that as a practice would have kept me from a lot of scrapes, but I wouldn't have got to the practice without those scrapes. So here I am,
Takes what it takes.
It does, man.
Is that the whole, when the student is ready, the teacher appears kind of thing?
Kind of. And that's kind of I think there is a lot of benefit to having a teacher or having a mentor or having a sangha, which is, the Buddhist word for community. And having that, I'm at a point, I think, with my practice that I would like to have a meditation teacher. I think I want that. That's
interesting.
Not just for accountability, but just to kind of continue to discover and try more things. But I think that there's also that's the thing, is that it's not an opportunity to be like, I have to go to the dark secret ghost in the sky for the answers. I have all of that within me, and all of these things that I've put on top of me is the thing that's clouding the path. And that I think 10 years ago, if you'd have told me that, I would have been like, well, you can't be your own higher power, Joel. And I don't think that's what it is. You know what I mean? I'm not like following my ego. I'm following, you know what I mean? Like, I used to think that that's when people say you can't be your own higher power. It's like, that's not what this is.
Back to George Clinton.
Yeah.
The first George Clinton album I ever had was Free Your Ass and Your Mind Will Follow.
That is great.
No, sorry, I had that backwards. Free your mind and your ass will follow.
Free your mind and your ass will follow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, I mean,
and I thought, just to crib from, oh God damn it, I just lost it. Samuel L. Jackson in Pulp Fiction. I thought that was I just thought that was a cool phrase, I just thought that was some cool shit to say.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
I thought that was some cool shit to say before you pop the cap.
Yeah. Yeah. But as I get older and a little bit wiser, I'm like, no, that's, it is a great album cover, but there's some truth in there too.
Yeah. Well, and it's not like
mind will follow. That way too,
Yeah, that's the name of this episode all of a sudden.
Oh, boy.
But yeah, it's like I wanted my mind to expand, and what I realized was not that my mind is my problem. My mind is just my mind,
Mm-hmm.
and letting it be. It's a process of not like freeing it through any outside circumstances or some sort of like, I don't do TM, I don't do transcendental meditation. I'm not trying to go to another dimension. I found that like allowing my mind to be the mind, and just like my lungs are my lungs, my bowels are my bowels, my hair grows, my
Mm-hmm.
my skin flakes off, my teeth are my teeth, my mouth salivates, my mind thinks, my heart
Mm-hmm.
beats, my mind thinks. That's just what it does. And meditation has taught me not to chase every thought down the drain, you know um and that I'm not my thoughts. And that was a pretty revolutionary thing to hear a couple years ago. It's like, dude, you're not you're not you what there's a phrase, there's a great ism that's like, uh yeah, I don't know, I lost it, but it's like, yeah, you're not your thoughts. You're not your thoughts. um and
Joel and Steve
that's
try to
been that's
remember what
been
the hell they were talking about.
Joel and Steve are up past their bedtime trying to talk about really complicated things they didn't really research.
Right. That's legit. That's fair.
I mean, the research's been done on the cushion, I guess.
Sure.
I mean, you've been practicing for a little bit now. I'm
Not
curious,
not quite a year.
has the novelty of it wore off? Like,
No.
is it now a practice that you're kind of like, oh, this is
It's
a
just
marathon,
something
not a sprint?
I'm definitely into a place of like I just do it,
Yeah.
but I feel like tip of the iceberg, That's what I was talking about, the
Yeah.
beginner's mind. Like even that concept is like, oh, that's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm really open to possibilities and open to
Yeah.
reading and open to I mean it's this sounds just as basic as learning how to pronounce Thich Nhat Hanh. Like
Yeah,
seriously,
man.
you look at that
Yeah.
like, how do you
Yeah.
say that? Well, it's Thich Nhat Hanh.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then learning about him
Yeah.
as a
Yeah.
person and how
Yes.
he's why he is the person that he is today.
Yeah. Yeah. If you don't know Thich Nhat Hanh, definitely check out Thich Nhat Hanh. For our listeners, I'm currently reading his book No Mud No Lotus, that my wife has had in her drawer and has read a couple of times, that I just haven't read yet. But I'm currently reading that. Super good. And he has his monastery in France, Plum Village, has an app
Mm-hmm.
that
It's
has
great.
tons of meditations in it for fun and for free.
Mm-hmm.
You can donate to them if you want. They don't
Mm-hmm.
care. It's not like you don't have to pay $100 a year for Headspace. You can have all the meditations you could ever want with the Plum Village app. That's really awesome. But
You
I
mentioned
should you need to have the book, and my brother gave it to me so I can freely give it to you. The book, Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind. You need to
okay,
read
I'm in.
Suzuki
I want to read
Roshi's
it.
book. Yeah. Yeah.
Like I'm open to all that. Like I shouldn't have
Yeah.
read that book, Why Buddhism is True, first. I should not have done.
That's what I did though.
Oh my God. Maybe it was good that I did. I don't know. Just tear off that bandage.
I'm glad my therapist mentioned that book today, because there's a lot of good. I needed that book because it was like, there's scientific proof. It's not just woo woo spirituality. There's a scientific reason why this stuff works. And when you do it, you can just focus on the scientific benefits, and it's just as beneficial.
And I think, okay, so maybe there is some of that to me, like my beginner, whatever you want to call it, meditation practice has had very concrete results. I've seen,
Yes.
like in just a pragmatic way, like it's just working.
Yes. Yep.
And that's all I really need to know.
Yeah.
So yeah. I feel like that's something that I should probably continue to learn about.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, I'm way more interested in that than, I don't know, studying Bible passages.
Yeah.
Not that there's not some wisdom in there, thanks to which, another shout out to Rob Bell. But like, for example, we just started into Lent. So like I'm doing a Lenten observance, which is that I'm watching what I eat. Just the quantity.
Yeah.
That's my thing.
that's the point of the Lent restriction is it's a mindfulness practice if you really think about it. I mean,
Correct.
it's
Yeah,
totally
agreed.
like,
Yeah, 100%.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
tonight, I was looking at my finished plate of food and looking at my daughter's plates of food, which I knew was going to have leftovers on it. And I'm like, I kind of want to eat that too because it's really good, you know? And then I
And then
just
I'm
had
gonna
that
go
moment of
drive
like,
to,
no, I'm not going to do that tonight.
yeah,
I'm going to get up and
that's mindful.
yeah, it's
Yeah, being
mindfulness.
mindful.
Yep.
Fasting, restriction, that's all mindful.
Mm-hmm.
Renunciation. Yeah.
Sure.
I was back to that, why Buddhism is true. One thing that blew my mind, I was, maybe meditating, 10 to 15 minutes tops a day, and maybe 5 minutes at night to sort of calm down. And then I read somewhere, or somebody told, it might have even been my therapist recently, was like, well, science, it's a lot of studies have proven that it isn't until about 20-25 minutes that the actual parasympathetic state starts to kick in, where you
Oh,
start to let
wow.
go of the fight, flight, or freeze. So
Mm-hmm.
if you're ready for it, maybe sit past 20 minutes, 25 minutes. And it was like, I just had to double everything. And it was like, wow, there's more here. And it's absolutely true that I'm finding, I now with longer and longer sits, I look forward to that time. Whereas before it looked like, I don't know where I'm going to find that extra 15-20 minutes. And
Mm,
now it's like, I'll do whatever to get that extra 15,
mm. That's
like, I'm like, that's where it's really starting to sparkle.
okay. Well, that's good to know.
Yeah. I mean, that's when scientifically, I mean, that's the cool thing is, and Josh has told me this early on. He's like, people have often said that like Buddha was actually probably one of the first psychotherapists or psychologists, really, because he studied he sat with his own mind and sat with it enough that he kind of transcended a lot of the things that were, obviously that's enlightenment. He transcended the attachments. He freed himself from those things. And um that's possible for anybody if you do the work.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of truth to that, because I mean, my therapist now is like, he's officially trained in mindfulness based stress reduction, which is
Hmm.
essentially meditation. It's like meditation. It's like a clinical way to get paid to be a meditation teacher, I guess,
Sure.
and not have
That
to
sounds like a
rely on
pretty good way to
donations.
go, actually.
Sounds like a great deal.
Hmm.
Dude, why did I go to acting school, Steve?
I don't know. Because that's what you were called to do at the time.
Yeah, that's true.
Hmm.
I really am. It's really cool to get to talk to you about meditation too, because like, as you've practiced as well, and getting to talk to my brother and other people in my circles, like it 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 makes it feel like it's more something that is yeah, I don't know. I had a lot of judgments about it. I thought it was,
Mm.
I had a lot of things. It was like, well, yeah, it's just a cop out, or it's like you're just trying to sound interesting and cool. And
Well,
I'm sure there are people that do that, but it's a lot different when you're actually practicing.
uh, earlier this evening, do you remember that movie, the John Cusack movie with the record store, High Fidelity?
Oh yeah, we just watched that not too long
God,
ago.
that's such a good movie.
Yeah.
But Tim Robbins' character in that movie,
Yeah.
that's like that's the example
Yeah,
of
with the
like
ponytail
yeah,
and the
yeah,
beads.
the new age meditation guy.
Yeah.
Like fuck that guy.
Fuck that guy.
Is there an
Fuck
air
that guy.
conditioner I can drop on his head?
Yeah. 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 It's like, yeah, the stereotype of the total like spaced out idiot that just claims it puts on the,
Well,
well, it's just like,
dude,
and I even,
I've been a fan of the Grateful Dead for over 30 years. I'm
right.
pretty used to people saying, "Oh, you must be a spaced out idiot."
Yeah. Well, that's the other thing too, is that that phrase that I think a lot of the times gets taken out of context, but the idea, like, if you meet the Buddha on the path, kill him. Meaning that if you meet somebody that is professing to be the Buddha, that person is not. That's the most kind of harm. So I hesitate, like, saying on this podcast that I've got it all figured out. I'm just like discovering this stuff. I might cringe in a year listening to this, right? But you know, I I don't know. I think it's also kind of a responsibility to share what I'm going, share what I share what we go through. That's
You
kind of the point too, is that you try to share the goodness, I guess.
turn your friends on.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I'm not fuck, dude. I mean, yeah. If you know me or you're listening to this podcast, you know me that I'm not trying to say that I'm enlightened and got it all figured out. I'm still a noob, really, in all kinds of respects. But it's been the most consistent prayer / meditation I've ever done my whole recovery. And you guys have been telling me to do that for fucking 19
Ever.
years.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Daily. It says daily in there.
Daily. Yeah. We talked about that today. Like,
yeah. At the nooner.
Yeah. Daily reprieve. It's a daily reprieve. And that's been my takeaway from the last year or so, is like, what a wonderful way to engage in that process. Right.
Yeah. Right.
It's just, it's been really fantastic. Like, I really feel like I have a new lease on life.
Yeah.
Like, I literally feel that way because of this blooming infant practice. Is like I have a new lease on life at pushing 50. And that's pretty incredible,
What is that? I think I know what you mean, but what does that look like for you? Like what feels freer now because of a blooming, very infant practice, Steve? Like what feels?
I really have this feeling of, as cliche as it sounds, like, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
Yeah.
Like, there's a foundation there that is built out of some pretty fucked up quicksand,
right.
But that's been mitigated, right? Arrested, whatever, firmed up. My life is not a dumpster fire today. Right. And like, I've got some really positive things and some roots and some concrete. And so now what has opened up is like, as opposed to feeling like, well, I guess that's done, like, no, it's just the beginning.
Yeah.
It's just the beginning. And my physical carriage has some miles on it, a few dents.
The meat suit.
Yeah. Like, I could really use a new spine. That'd be fantastic. If I get some new vertebrae, that'd be awesome. But like but through meditation, like, I've seen how small an issue that is. It's just something that is. It's not something that I am.
And that's like, fucking profound, Steve.
Like, I am
because
not. I am not Steve's back pain, which is omnipresent, right? But that's not who I am. It's just a thing that's happening. Because like 2 years ago, probably, when I was on the road all the time, driving, my back killing, and my tinnitus and my ears making me crazy, and everything. There were times where I'm like, I don't want to do this anymore. I do not want to do this anymore. This sucks. And it helps that some of the external circumstances have changed. I have a much better job, et cetera, et cetera. But like, those things are no longer mastering me. They're just a thing that's happening. And that frees me up then to do things like take guitar lessons, to be present for my children, to try to be present in my marriage, to try to excel at my work, and to enjoy all of that. So when the opportunity is, hey, you want to go play guitar in a country band, to say, yes, I would love to do that. That's like, I can see me at 60 and at 70 still be out there having fun, doing cool stuff, and that's
like the
I think
best
about, instead of like, oh my God, I'm in pain.
And that's I have to say that's like the best description of the practice, is that when we allow all of it and we just see it clearly as a thing that's happening. It's not something that we have to run away from, numb out, ignore,
Mm-hmm.
um, fight against, because that's making it worse. You know, and my thing, you know, one of the big, very early benefits that I experienced was when I started really seeing my lifelong anxiety as something that was physically harming me, but
Mm.
also spiritually and mentally harming me, and it was going to take me out in one way or another. You know,
Mm-hmm.
that my anxiety and depression was gonna, and I'm not saying that meditation is the cure for those things, and if you need other and professionals and medication, please do that. But my case was, what I needed to do was just not identify with it and not fight against it, not say that
Mm-hmm.
I am this wound up, uh overly excitable, but also overly self-critical and self-loathing, scared to do anything person. And that's been the story, and that's been the story my whole life, like to do adventurous things as a kid. I mean, I didn't learn how to fucking ride a bicycle till I was in 5th or 6th grade because I was just terrified to do it, and I didn't want to
Mm-hmm.
look stupid, you know. And like all of those things, that my anxiety has always kind of been this thing that is like, the more I fight it, the worse it grabs me. And I knew that I needed to do something about it. And there's a lot of other circumstances that go into that, but same story. It's like, I can sit with this. This is a thing that's happening. Oh, I'm sitting and breathing. Thinking is happening. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
that's just my brain thinking, and it's telling me XYZ, and that's not me. I am not my anxiety. I am not
I'm not Joel's anxiety.
I am not Joel's anxiety. In fact, if you can observe, I mean, that's the cool thing about meditation. If you can observe that thing that's going on, then the next question is, who's the one that's observing?
Mm.
And that's not a self or identity. And then you think, well, everybody is having these experiences, and you start to kind of feel a little more universal with others, and that we're all either attaching or fighting against our own suffering and making it worse until we kind of can step back from it. Doesn't mean the bad shit doesn't happen, and it doesn't make us perfect, but it means that we can observe it and not chase every shit thought down the drain, you know?
I don't know who just said this, but recently I heard the thing of, and I wish to God I could get the credit for it, but the thing of, like, the person goes to see the teacher and asks, like, who I want to know who am I? And the teacher says, well, who's
Mhm.
asking?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's I was like, oh my God.
Well, yeah. And that's sort of like almost a Zen koan
Mm-hmm.
poem thing, like, you know, thing that sort of just, you know, baffles your mind for a good reason.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, if you can sit there and observe your thoughts, then who's observing? I just did a Josh Corda podcast, talk and sit, where it was all about the not self, that weird thing that the Buddha talked about, which, like, there is no self. And it's like, but that's real. Like, you know, I can look at all my memories and all of my past fears and all of my hopes and the things I like and all of these, the clothes I wear, the books I read, the shows I watch, and I try to tell myself that that's myself,
Mm-hmm.
but not one of those things make me me. And if I look within, my lungs don't make me me, my thoughts don't make me me, my hair
Mm-hmm.
doesn't make me. So, you know, so it's like, yeah, anyway, the idea of observing oneself, then who is that that's doing the observing? And you can probably go even further into that, you know. And it's like, but I don't know, I guess back to your point, it's really cool to hear you say that, like, when you allowed the pain to just be pain,
Mm-hmm.
it stopped being the thing that kept you from enjoying life or having peace, you
Yeah,
know.
that revolutionary, and it
Totally.
costs nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah. Nothing.
Little
Nothing.
time. It's a pretty
Mm-hmm.
good deal, really.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
Well, have we done it? Did we do it?
Yeah. May everybody find the thing that frees them from the things that are sinking them.
May
May
everyone be safe. May everybody
Yeah.
be healthy. Everybody be happy, and may everybody live with ease.
I mean,
That's it.
that's the thing. Like, that's the point. And I mentioned this in a podcast before. Like, I don't sit just so that I feel awesome and I at the end of every sit, you have to do that. I have to dedicate it. I dedicate it to all living beings, because if it doesn't benefit anybody, if it's only benefiting myself, and like, oh, I'm free from my anxiety, and so I'm going to go out there and be a dick to everybody, it's like that's not the point.
Well, I really
point is,
enjoyed Brian's comment the other night about, the point of economics is to get the maximum good for the most people.
I never heard economics being described like that. I've always heard
how
like,
do you get the most good for the most people. It's the same thing.
And if you think about a spiritual economy, there's no waste in a spiritual economy, right? And that's what we're taught in recovery too. There's no waste. Even in the Buddhist path, there's no waste in a spiritual economy. Everything can be recycled, upcycled. Everything can be, our shit pasts have been turned into the most precious thing in our life, which is experience and strength and hope. Yeah.
On a good day.
Yeah. if we're in the good spot.
Cool.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of resources out there, y'all. I mean, I really love, if you want to start practicing, we've mentioned a couple of books, but Thich Nhat Hanh has a great little, like almost barely a book called How to Sit. And it's really easy. The Plum Village app, you can find it on
fantastic.
It's amazing.
I really like one of the first Sharon Salzberg, I've mentioned her a lot tonight, meditation I listened to. I love that she makes a point to say, you don't have to feel like you're doing anything weird.
Yeah.
She actually is like, you don't have to feel like you're doing anything even special. You just sit or don't.
Yeah. It's like, how can I sit? I don't have enough tapestries. I don't have enough incense. I don't have the robes.
I know
I don't have
some
the right
Champa around here somewhere.
I don't have the right beads.
Yeah.
I'm sitting on an old couch.
Right.
So the Plum Village app I really love. There's a lot of good books out there too. There's How to Sit, but there's also Steve mentioned Thich Nhat Hanh. There's another one I'm reading, No Mundo Lotus. But that book that we read, Why Buddhism is True. I mean, obviously there's tons of books out there, but get in where you fit in. And there's apps. There's tons of things on YouTube for free.
Tons.
Yeah, try it out.
And you're not late to the party.
There is no late to the party.
There is no late to the party. Just come on in. Let's do this.
You just got to be willing to kind of sit with yourself for at least 10 minutes, which is sometimes a really scary thought to some folks. Yeah.
Cool.
Love you, dude.
Love you too. This has been good.
Love you all.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Word.